Last week, this guy came in. He has a brand new Sprinter van. Just the newer model, I'll say. It's not brand new. It's got like 60K on it. He had some complaints about tire wear and whatnot. And what I found is the leaf springs that he had, which came with the vehicle, because he built out the interior, added a bed, and had like lockers on the back. He's got a bike rack off the back, so the rear end is very, very heavy. It was built just not up to the standard of now what is in the vehicle. So essentially these leaf springs for the rear axle are flat. They need to be sprung upward to then be able to dampen the vehicle. Because of the weight, there was so much weight in it, it was actually pushing it down and is actually pulling the front end up. So he's kind of hooptied for a little bit. It's a stability issue because it's all the weights in the rear and it's lifting the front end up. He went for it and he bought the upgrade. And we went and got the biggest leaf spring packages. So that's the one I took out. This is the upgrade, and you could just visually see the difference. These kits are great because you get all new stuff. This is kind of the best part. These are like protective sleeves that they've cut for you already, and you actually put these around the brake lines. Because in this application, the brake line goes underneath and it's out of the way. But because you add the lift, I have to put the brake hose over the top, and this is just acts as a dampening, so we don't rub the brake lines away and cause a serious problem. So they build these for you, which is great. Say you had a basic Mercedes, whether it be suspension or engine, and you can add like the AMG suspension to your standard car, and that's what we'd call like OEM plus. So you're using factory equipment, but you're upgrading the suspension. And in my opinion, this is like that. So Mercedes doesn't produce anything bigger than this stock spring pack here. This is the biggest they'll make. This is their home. They've sold everything and they live in this van. So they got their life in there. So it's heavy. So then we're able to then, keep the vehicle stability where it needs to be by throwing in an upgraded leaf spring packs. What's great is I have more work to be done on it, so they're gonna take it tonight and drive it around, and I'll be able to speak with them more in the morning and kind of just get their opinion about how they feel about it. So I don't usually get that a lot of the times. And they don't live here, they live in another state, so a lot of the times we do these upgrades and they take off and I maybe won't see them for a year. And then later on, then I hear, they tell me the news, good or bad, whether they like it or not, and that helps us then, helps the next customers. It's just growing our knowledge. So it's exciting. Below the original one is a lift block. So this actually sits on the axle. The leaf spring pack sits on top of it. So this is how they get the height. So basically the spring pack that I put in took away this block, and it just imagine 6 more leaf springs in there. That deleted that block, but also actually raised the vehicle higher and balanced it. In some cases can be a stability problem where it's not the proper way to lift a vehicle using a block. You do it with leaf springs like this. So now I've actually leveled the van. So the front and the rear bumpers are identical now, instead of the front being higher than the rear. But what this will also do is add stability to the van. Say on the freeways, and you're hitting all the bumps, or you're entering over a bridge, and you have that little grate in the road. When you hit that, when you're deflected on your leaf springs, when they're collapsed, you can get some shimmying out of the rear end of the van. You can get some tire hop as well. But with this setup, it's gonna force the suspension and actually then utilize the shocks to then dampen the chassis of the truck. I'm gonna do the alignment on it, and that'll actually show all my data, where I've centered it, and if I have to make an adjustment, I'll be able to see that. I would say if you didn't do any measuring front to rear, it could cause you to have the axle to be slightly shifted a little bit. I've already driven it though. I went across the road, I got a bunch of speed bumps and stuff I can hit, and it's very sturdy, very sturdy. So I'm very pleased with it. It turned out really great. Basically what happened is the front was overbuilt and the rear was in a way stock. And now we have the rear end matching the front end as far as the build of the suspension. Top of my screwdriver, that's where the fender was. So that's significant. So I couldn't put this in like this. I was knocking on it, dunk, dunk, dunk. So that's the amount of height we got out of it. This is the main strut. It's got an accumulator on it, but it's here, it's got another shock. So it's an assistant shock. There's a plate right here that you would remove. You add this bracket that bolts through here, bolts to there, and then the shock goes to it. And then so now he has double the dampening force up here. So it's pushing down on this control arm and pushing down on this control arm. This is extremely stout. So there's never really a need to replace this because they overbuilt the front leaf spring, which is awesome. And so this is why the front end was so nice, but then he had kind of what I'll say a stock rear leaf spring. So not air checking a car you're doing alignment to is not a good idea either. You could throw off your data. Your fronts, I call them the hot tires because they're handling all the weight during braking, but you're turning on them. So it's just more friction, more heat, and you'll increase, you'll lose less air. I'll just say it like that. It lost like 3 PSI, so that's due to temperature. It's so cold. Denser air is more compact. That's why we boost engines, because you get more air. But the denser it is, you actually will drop PSI. So in the wintertime, we actually overfill everybody about 3 pounds just to prolong that loss. Like one side could be sagging, and you don't want that. You want it to be as even as possible, so that when you do your alignment, you know you've nailed it. So if I was running this van and the heat from the exhaust was emitting out from underneath it, that can throw my alignment off because it'll manipulate the camera communication between the cameras themselves and the sensors on the vehicle. So during the summertime, we actually shut the door because the heat coming in from outside, that could throw your alignment off. I am very, very pleased with this. This turned out amazing. I'm kind of excited to see the customer's reaction.